On a rainy evening, the clock tower in the village chimed softly, its echoes blending with the soothing sound of raindrops.
Claire had always been fascinated by the old clockmaker who lived at the top of the hill, known for crafting whimsical timepieces that ticked in perfect harmony with the world. As the storm continued outside, she decided to pay him a visit. Climbing the winding path, she arrived at the clockmaker's workshop, its door slightly ajar. "Hello," she called, stepping inside.
The room was filled with clocks of all shapes and sizes, each ticking and talking in a delightful symphony. At the center stood Mr. Hargrove, the clockmaker, his white beard dusted with sawdust and a twinkle in his eye.
Ah, Claire, welcome. Come to learn about the art of timekeeping?
"I'd love to," she replied, her excitement bubbling over.
Good. But first you must try my special clock. He gestured to a large ornate timepiece with colourful gears and glowing lights. This one can take you on a journey through time.
"Really?" Claire gasped.
Indeed. Just set the hands to where you wish to go. He grinned, his eyes sparkling with mischief.
With a touch of hesitation, Claire turned the hands to now. The clock chimed merrily, and suddenly, the room swirled with colours. When the light faded, she found herself standing in the same workshop but with the clocks all running backward. "What on earth?" she exclaimed, giggling.
Welcome to yesterday, Mr. Hargrove laughed. But be careful, time has a mind of its own. You may find yourself swept away in its whims.
Claire spent the evening hopping from one whimsical moment to another, witnessing the village's history unfold through the eyes of its quirky inhabitants. She saw the founding of the village, an impromptu dance-off, and even a tea party with talking animals. As the clock chimed midnight, she realized it was time to return.
"Thank you for the adventure."
She beamed.
Remember, dear Claire, time is only as exciting as you make it. It's always ticking away, waiting for curious souls like you.
With that, Claire stepped back into her own time, the rain still falling softly outside, and a smile on her face as she drifted off to sleep, dreaming of her time-bending escapades. On a rainy night, when the world outside was cloaked in shadows, Ben found himself wandering through the empty streets of his old hometown. Memories washed over him like the raindrops cascading from the rooftops. He passed the abandoned fairground, long forgotten but still echoing with laughter. "Just a little closer," he muttered, feeling a strange pull toward the entrance.
As he stepped through the rusty gates, the rain lightened, revealing a colorful carnival, alive and bustling as if plucked straight from his childhood.
A cheerful ghost in a polka dot dress waved from the carousel, beckoning him to join. "Welcome back, dear. We've missed you."
Ben laughed, his heart racing with nostalgia. "Missed me? I thought this place was closed for good."
"Oh, it is. But the spirits of the fair keep it alive for those who remember the joy," she replied, twirling around as the music began to play.
As he wandered through the fairgrounds, he encountered familiar attractions: a towering Ferris wheel, a candy booth, and a game stand where a ghostly ringmaster offered him a chance to win a prize.
Care to try your luck?
"Why not?" Ben said with a grin as he picked up a ring and tossed it toward a row of glass bottles. With surprising accuracy, the ring landed perfectly on one, and the ghostly ringmaster cheered.
A winner, choose your prize.
Ben scanned the table, his eyes landing on a small, intricately carved wooden toy, a carousel horse, its colors faded but still vibrant. "I'll take that one," he said, feeling a wave of warmth wash over him.
An excellent choice, the ringmaster declared, handing him the toy. May it bring you many joyful memories.
As he walked through the fair, Ben felt as if he was revisiting his happiest moments. Friends laughing, games played, and the sweet taste of cotton candy melting in his mouth. The ghosts of the fair joined him, sharing stories of their favorite nights and the magic that had once filled the air.
"Remember to keep the spirit of fun alive, even when the world feels dreary," the polka dot ghost said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "And don't forget to visit us again."
Just as the rain began to pick up again, Ben knew it was time to leave. He waved goodbye to the friendly spirits, the carousel spinning slowly as if to send him off with a gentle farewell. As he stepped back through the gates and into the rainy night, he clutched the wooden horse tightly. The fair may have been forgotten by the living, but in his heart, he knew the magic would always remain. He smiled as he walked home, the sound of raindrops now a comforting reminder of the joy that could still be found in memories.
On a stormy night, as the rain cascaded against the window, Lila wrapped herself in her favorite blanket, a cup of tea warming her hands. The wind howled outside, but it was the perfect night for a story. Just then, a soft knock came at her door. Who could that be? She wondered, setting her tea down. She opened the door to find an old man holding a lantern that glowed with a gentle light.
Good evening, I'm the lantern keeper. May I come in, he asked, his voice as soothing as the rain.
Of course, please come in, Lila replied, ushering him inside.
Simply listen closely, he said, lifting the lantern and gently shaking it. A soft glow spread throughout the room, and shadows began to dance on the walls, forming images of distant lands and mystical creatures.
Lila watched in awe as the lantern conjured tales of brave knights, enchanted forests, and starry skies. Each flicker of light brought forth a new story, each more enchanting than the last. As the storm raged outside, Lila felt transported into each tale, experiencing the excitement and magic woven within the lantern's glow.
This is amazing! Thank you for sharing these stories with me.
The lantern keeper smiled. Every story deserves to be told, especially on nights like this. And remember, the stories you create in your own life are just as important.
When the storm finally subsided, he stood up, ready to leave.
Take this lantern with you. It will always light your path and remind you of the adventures waiting in your own life,
he said, handing it to her.
With gratitude in her heart, Lila accepted the lantern. I will cherish it always. Thank you for a wonderful evening.
As the lantern keeper stepped out into the rain, Lila watched him disappear into the night. With her lantern glowing softly beside her, she felt a warmth and excitement for the stories yet to come, knowing that even on the rainiest nights, magic was always just a flicker away. On a drizzly night when the rain painted the world in shades of gray, Thomas gazed out his window at the old weeping willow tree in his backyard. Its branches swayed gently as if whispering secrets to the wind.
He remembered the stories his grandmother had told him about the tree, that it held the spirits of those who once loved and lost. Intrigued, he decided to venture outside, donning his raincoat and boots. As he approached the tree, the rain softened, and a calmness enveloped him. "Hello?" he called softly, half expecting a response.
To his surprise, the branches began to sway more vigorously, and from the shadows emerged a shimmering figure, a spirit in a flowing gown with long hair that danced like the willow's leaves.
I am Alara, the spirit of the weeping willow. Welcome, dear child, she said, her voice melodic and soothing.
What's it like to be a spirit? Thomas stared in wonder. You're real!
Would you like to hear a tale? I guard the memories of love and loss beneath these branches. Alara smiled gently. It is a beautiful existence, but it can be lonely at times.
Absolutely, Thomas replied, his heart racing with excitement.
Alara began to weave a story about a couple who had carved their initials into the trunk of the willow, pledging their love for eternity. Through laughter and tears, they faced challenges, but the tree always stood strong, witnessing their joy and sorrow.
As she spoke, Thomas felt the warmth of their love enveloping him, and the sound of the rain became a soothing backdrop to the story. He laughed at their antics and sighed at their heartaches, feeling a deep connection to the emotions they experienced.
When the story came to a close, Alara looked at him with a twinkle in her eye.
Remember, dear child, love is the greatest adventure of all. Keep it alive in your heart.
With those words, the rain began to fall lightly again, and the spirit shimmered softly before fading back into the branches of the willow. Thomas stood beneath the tree, feeling the magic of the moment linger around him. As he returned to the warmth of his home, he knew that love, in all its forms, would always be the best story worth sharing. And every rainy night would remind him of the weeping willow and the tales of love that danced in the rain. On a rainy night, as thunder rumbled in the distance, Mia gazed out her window at the downpour. The world outside was a splash of colors, puddles forming like tiny lakes on the pavement. Such a dreary night, she sighed, wrapping herself in a blanket. Just then, she noticed something glinting at the edge of her porch. Curiosity piqued. She donned her raincoat and slipped on her boots to investigate. To her surprise, she found a pair of vibrant, magical rain boots, each adorned with intricate patterns of swirling stars and clouds. "What's this?" she wondered aloud. As she picked them up, they began to glow softly, and a cheerful voice rang out, "Put me on and let's have some fun!" Mia laughed, astonished. "You can talk?" "Of course. I'm Oliver, the enchanted rain boot. When you wear me, you can jump into any puddle and explore the world inside," he exclaimed, wiggling with excitement. "Really? That sounds amazing," Mia said, her heart racing with joy. Without a second thought, she slipped on the magical boots. "Ready? Let's jump," Oliver encouraged. Together, they leaped into the nearest puddle. The world spun and shimmered, and suddenly they landed in a fantastical realm filled with vibrant colors and whimsical creatures. They explored a land where rainbows sprouted from the ground and fluffy clouds formed into shapes of animals. Mia laughed and played with the creatures, each moment more delightful than the last. As they wandered, Mia marveled at the beauty surrounding her. "I never knew rain could be this magical," she exclaimed, spinning around. "Every drop has its story. Just look around and you'll see," Oliver said, leading her to a sparkling waterfall made of pure light. When the night began to wane, Mia knew it was time to return. "Thank you for the adventure, Oliver. I'll never forget this. Remember, every rainy day can lead to magic if you just believe," he replied. And with one final jump, they landed back on her porch. As she slipped off the enchanted boots, Mia felt a spark of joy and wonder fill her heart. The rain still fell outside, but now it seemed like a symphony of possibilities. With a smile, she settled back into her blanket, dreaming of the next rainy night when she could explore the magical world again. On a rainy evening, Lily curled up in her cozy armchair, her favorite book resting on her lap. The sound of raindrops tapping against the window created a soothing rhythm that made her eyelids heavy. As she settled deeper into her chair, she noticed something unusual. The raindrops outside seemed to be forming words as they trickled down the glass. "Am I dreaming?" she wondered, leaning closer to the window. Suddenly, a gentle voice broke the silence. "Not dreaming, dear one. We're the whispers of the rain." The voice came from a tiny, shimmering raindrop perched on the sill. "Whispers of the rain?" Lily repeated, intrigued. "Yes, each drop carries a story. Would you like to hear one?" the raindrop asked, glimmering in the dim light. "Of course," she replied eagerly. The raindrop shimmered brighter and began to share a tale about a lonely cloud that longed to befriend the flowers below. Every time it rained, the flowers would dance and sing, but the cloud felt invisible, it explained. One day, a gust of wind blew the cloud low enough to touch the flowers. Finally, the cloud could hear their laughter, and they welcomed it with open petals. The raindrop continued, joyfully recounting how the cloud found friendship in the most unexpected place. Lily listened intently, her heart warming with each word. "What happened next?" she asked, captivated. The cloud learned that by sharing its rain, it could help the flowers bloom even brighter. And in return, they danced more joyfully than ever, the raindrop concluded, sparkling with delight. "Thank you for sharing that beautiful story," Lily said, feeling inspired. "Remember, dear one, every raindrop has a tale to tell. Just listen, and you'll hear the magic of the world," the raindrop whispered before merging back into the rain. As the sound of the rain continued, Lily closed her eyes, her heart filled with warmth, knowing that even the simplest moments held stories waiting to be discovered. As the rain pattered softly against the roof, Max wandered into his grandmother's old garden, now overgrown and wild. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, and the raindrops glistened like diamonds on the leaves. Where did all the flowers go? He wondered aloud, stepping carefully between the tangled vines. Just then he stumbled upon a hidden archway covered in ivy. Curious, he pushed aside the leaves and stepped through, finding himself in a garden unlike any he'd ever seen. The flowers here were vibrant and luminous, glowing softly in the dim light, casting a gentle radiance around the space. "Welcome, young gardener," a voice chimed from above. Max looked up to see a shadowy figure sitting on a branch of an ancient tree. It was a gentle spirit with long, flowing hair made of wisps of smoke. "Who are you?" Max asked, astonished. "I am Sylph, the keeper of this garden. It's a secret place where shadows and light dance together. Would you like to help me tend to it? She asked, smiling warmly. Absolutely, he replied, feeling a surge of excitement. Sylph showed him how to care for the enchanted plants, explaining that each flower represented a memory, a joyful moment, a dream, or a story from the past. As they worked together, Max felt a deep connection to the garden, the air buzzing with stories waiting to bloom. You see, Sylph explained, the rain nourishes these memories, allowing them to grow and flourish. Without it, they wither away. As they tended to the flowers, Max began to share his own memories, stories of laughter, adventures, and dreams. With each word, the flowers blossomed brighter, their colors more vibrant. When the rain finally began to subside, Sylph smiled at Max. You've brought life to this garden with your stories. Always remember, your memories have the power to create beauty, even in the darkest of times. As he left the secret garden, Max felt a sense of wonder. He knew he would return, eager to share more stories with Sylph and help the garden thrive, reminding him that every memory was a treasure waiting to bloom. On a rainy night, when the drops danced a gentle waltz against the window, Oliver found himself curled up in an old armchair at the local library, the only soul present. The scent of musty books and polished wood enveloped him, and he was content to lose himself in the pages of a forgotten novel. As the clock struck midnight, the lights flickered, and a soft rustle echoed through the aisles. Oliver glanced up, and there stood the ethereal figure of the librarian, her ghostly visage illuminated by a flickering overhead lamp. "Oh dear," she said with a sigh, "I really need to organize these books. They are far too jumbled for my taste." Oliver couldn't help but chuckle. A ghost with a penchant for order? What do you do with all the overdue books? She smiled, her translucent fingers gliding over the spines of the books. "I simply remind the borrowers that time is but a construct. They can return them whenever they like if they wish to avoid my rather persuasive library fines." The rain pattered gently against the window as Oliver and the librarian exchanged witty banter, sharing stories of misplaced tomes and forgotten tales. As dawn approached, the librarian gave him a small spectral nod, disappearing into the shadows, leaving Oliver with a sense of calm and a promise to return to his beloved library, if only to avoid those haunting finds. On a stormy evening, Eleanor sat by her window, a warm cup of chamomile cradled in her hands. The rain drummed a soothing rhythm on the glass, and outside the world blurred into a watercolor of gray and blue. As the clock chimed 7, she heard a soft knock at her door. Curiosity piqued, Eleanor opened the door to find a group of elegantly dressed ghosts shimmering in the low light. "May we join you for tea?" asked a dapper specter with a bowler hat. "Why, of course," she replied, ushering them in. The spirits floated in, their laughter echoing through the room, and Eleanor quickly set out an assortment of teacups and pastries. As the rain fell steadily outside, they discussed their favorite blends. One ghost favored Earl Grey, while another insisted on the merits of mint. The atmosphere was light and jovial, the ghosts sharing tales of their favorite past lives, each story more amusing than the last. "I once attended a ball where I accidentally tripped a duke," one laughed. He declared it the highlight of his evening. With each sip of tea, the laughter and camaraderie grew, filling Eleanor's cozy living room with warmth and a sense of belonging. When the storm finally subsided and the first light of dawn peeked through the curtains, the ghosts raised their teacups in a toast. "To good company and a rainy night. May we meet again." Eleanor smiled, knowing that she would cherish this whimsical tea party long after the spirits had drifted away. On a rainy night, the sound of raindrops falling like whispers against the window lulled Martin into a comfortable stupor as he stared at the old family portrait hanging on the wall. It had been there for generations, depicting his ancestors in their elaborate, somber attire, eyes glimmering with secrets. As lightning illuminated the room for a brief moment, Martin noticed something peculiar. The eyes of his great-great-grandmother seemed to shift. "Is it just the storm?" he wondered, but the corners of her mouth twitched into what resembled a smirk. "Quite the weather we're having," she said suddenly, her voice soft yet clear. "It always brings out the best in memories." Martin chuckled, half convinced he was dreaming. "And what memories would those be?" "Ah, my dear boy," she replied with a wistful glance. Rain has a way of washing away the mundane. It reminds us of the things we've tucked away, the tales we've forgotten. Intrigued, Martin leaned in closer. What tales do you hold? Oh, many. Like the time your great-uncle tried to bake a cake during a storm. It ended up as a soggy mess. Or the night we all danced in the rain, much to the dismay of our neighbors. The rain continued to fall, creating a soothing melody. With each story, the portrait seemed to glow with life, filling Martin's heart with warmth and laughter. Perhaps it's time to make new memories, he suggested, grinning. Indeed, she replied, her smile radiant. And perhaps one day you'll share them with someone who gazes upon your portrait. As Martin settled back into his chair, the rain a gentle lullaby. He felt a newfound connection to his family, a tapestry of laughter, mischief, and love woven through time, all thanks to a stormy night. On a night when the rain fell in rhythmic patterns, Lucy sat by her bedroom window, peering into the dark expanse of the woods behind her house. The trees swayed gently, their leaves shimmering under the occasional flash of lightning. As she sipped her hot cocoa, a soft rustle came from the depths of the forest, drawing her attention. "Are you going to just sit there all night?" a voice echoed, sounding like a breeze carrying secrets. Lucy jumped but then giggled, recognizing the voice belonged to an old tree spirit named Thistle. "Thistle, it's so good to hear from you. What brings you out on this rainy night?" she asked, a smile spreading across her face. "I've been waiting for the rain to dance its way to your window," he replied, his voice twinkling with mischief. "You know how much I love a good puddle." Lucy laughed. "You're just a big kid at heart, aren't you?" "Of course. What fun is eternity without a little whimsy?" Thistle chuckled. "Speaking of fun, do you remember the time the wind played tricks on the village? Everyone was convinced they were hearing voices." "Oh, yes," Lucy exclaimed. "I thought it was the ghost of Old Man Jenkins trying to give me a lecture." "Indeed," Thistle laughed, his leafy form shimmering in the rain-soaked air. "That old fellow has quite the sense of humor, even in the afterlife." As the rain continued to fall, Lucy and Thistle exchanged tales of pranks and mischief, their laughter mingling with the soothing sound of raindrops. The night felt alive, and she drifted off to sleep, dreaming of dancing with spirits among the trees. As the rain poured steadily outside, Emma settled into her bed, the sound of water against the window like a lullaby. In the corner of her room stood an old wooden door, long forgotten and covered in cobwebs. "Why not?" she murmured, curiosity bubbling inside her. She swung the door open, revealing a dimly lit hallway lined with portraits of curious creatures. Cats wearing monocles, dogs in bowler hats, and owls with tiny books tucked under their wings. "Welcome to the Hall of Whimsy," a cheerful voice chirped. A small plump fairy flitted out from the shadows, her wings shimmering in the light. "I'm Pippin, the guardian of this delightful place," Emma giggled. "A hall full of whimsy? What does it do?" "Why, it holds the best stories," Pippin replied, floating in circles. "Each portrait contains a tale waiting to be told. Tonight we can explore the adventures of Sir Whiskers the Brave." "Sir Whiskers?" Emma laughed. "Is he a cat?" "Indeed. He fought dragons with a feather and saved a kingdom from boredom," Pippin declared dramatically, her eyes sparkling. As the rain continued to drum against the window, Emma and Pippin danced through the hall, discovering tales of bravery, laughter, and mischief. The night became a tapestry of enchanting stories, and Emma fell asleep dreaming of her own adventures, surrounded by whimsy and wonder. On a rainy night, when the world seemed to blur into a watercolor of gray, Max stood at the bus stop, waiting for the last bus home. The rain fell in steady streams, creating a soft symphony that lulled his senses. As he leaned against the post, an old woman with an umbrella appeared beside him, her eyes twinkling like stars. "Waiting for a ride, dear?" she asked, her voice warm and inviting. "Yes, but it seems to be taking forever," Max replied, glancing down the empty road. "Oh, don't worry. The rain always brings out the best stories," she said, her gaze fixed on the distant headlights. "Have you ever heard of the bus that takes you to the realm of lost things?" Max raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Lost things? Indeed. It's a magical bus that picks up lost keys, forgotten toys, and misplaced dreams. Once you board, you can chat with them and help them find their way home," she explained with a grin. "I suppose I've lost my fair share of socks," Max chuckled. The woman laughed heartily. "Socks are notorious for disappearing. But fret not, the bus knows where they all end up. Sock Utopia." Just as the rain began to let up, the bus arrived with a soft hiss. "Ah, there it is," the woman exclaimed, tapping her umbrella on the ground. "Time for me to go find my missing tea set. Can I join you?" Max asked, half joking. "Why not? All lost things could use a friend." As they boarded the bus, Max felt a warmth wash over him, as if the rain had washed away his worries. The journey became a whimsical adventure, filled with laughter and stories of lost treasures, and by the time he awoke the next morning, he realized some things were never truly lost. They were just waiting for the right moment to be found. On a drizzly evening, the streets glistened like jewels, and Leo found himself in a quaint little shop filled with trinkets and treasures. In the corner stood a dusty umbrella, its fabric a tapestry of swirling colors. The shopkeeper, a kindly old man with a twinkle in his eye, noticed Leo's interest. "Ah, that's not just any umbrella," he said with a smile. "It's enchanted. It can take you anywhere your heart desires, as long as you keep it open." Curiosity piqued, Leo purchased the umbrella, braving the rain outside. He opened it wide, and to his astonishment, a warm breeze enveloped him, lifting him off his feet. With a whoosh, he found himself standing in a sunlit meadow filled with laughter. Fairies danced around him, their wings sparkling like diamonds. "Welcome to the Festival of Colors," one fairy squealed, twirling in the air. Leo grinned, twirling along with them. The rain was but a distant memory, replaced by the joy of vibrant blooms and laughter. They shared stories of adventure and friendship, each tale brighter than the last. Eventually, the sun began to set, and Leo knew it was time to return. He opened his umbrella once more, the meadow fading into mist as he floated back to the rainy streets. As he stepped back into the real world, the old shopkeeper waved from his door. "Did you enjoy your journey?" "Absolutely. Can I come back tomorrow?" Leo asked, excitement bubbling in his chest. "Anytime, my boy. Just remember, the magic is always with you as long as you keep your heart open," the shopkeeper replied with a wink. On a rainy night, the sound of rain tapping against the window created a cozy atmosphere in the small cottage where Amelia lived. Snuggled up in her blanket, she watched her cat Jasper, curiously pawing at the window. "What is it, Jasper?" she asked, amused. "Are you trying to catch raindrops?" With a soft meow, Jasper jumped down and began pacing back and forth, his green eyes fixed on something outside. Intrigued, Amelia joined him at the window. "What do you see?" Suddenly, a small, glowing figure zipped past, the spirit of a mischievous mouse. "Oh, it's just Whiskers," Amelia chuckled. "He's been causing trouble in the pantry again." Jasper meowed as if in agreement, his tail flicking with excitement. Whiskers danced in the rain, seemingly enjoying the storm. "Care to join me?" he squeaked, his voice a melodic chime. "The raindrops are delightful," Amelia laughed. "Only if I can bring some cheese." And so, the three of them embarked on a whimsical adventure in the rain. With Jasper dashing after Whiskers, the cottage was filled with laughter and playful chaos. They danced through puddles, sharing stories and laughter as the rain became a backdrop to their enchanting evening. As the storm subsided and dawn broke, Amelia found herself wrapped in warmth and joy, knowing that even the smallest creatures could turn a rainy night into a memorable tale of friendship and fun. On a rainy evening, the sound of raindrops drumming against the roof created a rhythmic melody that soothed Clara into a peaceful state. As she settled into her favorite armchair, she glanced out the window and noticed a peculiar sight, a gathering of woodland creatures outside, all huddled together beneath a large oak tree. "Are they having a party?" Clara wondered aloud. Just then, a tiny hedgehog wearing a top hat appeared at her doorstep, tapping gently with his paw. "Good evening. We're hosting a concert tonight, and we'd love for you to join us," he said with a flourish. Clara chuckled at the sight. "A concert? In this weather?" "Indeed," the hedgehog replied. "The rain adds a lovely ambiance. It's a symphony of nature. Come, come." Intrigued, Clara grabbed her coat and followed the hedgehog outside. The creatures had formed an ensemble. Rabbits played violins made of twigs, while a badger beat on a hollow log like a drum. A chorus of birds provided the harmony, their voices blending beautifully with the sound of rain. As the concert began, Clara found herself swept away by the enchanting melodies. The hedgehog led the audience in a rousing sing-along, and soon even the rain seemed to dance in time with the music. When the final note rang out, the crowd erupted in cheers, and Clara couldn't help but clap along. "Thank you for inviting me," she exclaimed. "This was the best concert I've ever attended." The hedgehog tipped his hat. We're always here, rain or shine. Just listen for the music and you'll find us." With a heart full of joy and a promise to return, Clara made her way back inside, the sound of raindrops now harmonizing with the echoes of laughter and song. On a rainy night, Sophie rummaged through her attic, searching for old photo albums. The wind howled outside and the rain beat against the roof, creating an eerie atmosphere. Just as she was about to give up, she stumbled upon a dusty old painting propped against the wall. Curious, she wiped the dust away to reveal a vibrant landscape, rolling hills, a quaint village, and a bright sun shining down. "What a lovely scene," she murmured, stepping closer. As she admired the painting, she noticed something strange. The people in the painting began to move, waving at her and smiling. "Greetings," one of them called, a portly gentleman in a top hat. Sophie blinked in disbelief. "Can you see me?" "Of course," the gentleman replied, tipping his hat. "I'm Harold, and this is our village. We could use a little excitement tonight. Would you care to join us for a stroll? Join you? In the painting?" she asked, bewildered. "Why not?" said a lady in a flowing dress. "It's rather dreary outside. Besides, it's much nicer here." Without thinking, Sophie reached out to touch the canvas, and suddenly, she was pulled into the painting, standing on the vibrant hillside. The colors were so bright, and the air was filled with laughter and music. As they strolled through the village, Sophie learned about the charming townsfolk and their quirky stories. They shared jokes and tales of mischief, making her laugh until her sides hurt. Eventually, the sun began to set in the painting, and Sophie knew she had to return. "Thank you for the adventure," she said, waving goodbye. "Come back any time," Harold called. With a blink, she found herself back in the attic, the painting quietly watching over her. As the rain continued to fall, Sophie smiled, knowing that she had a magical escape waiting for her whenever she needed a little brightness. On a stormy night when the rain poured relentlessly, Jamie sat by the window, watching the droplets race down the glass. The world outside was a blur, but then something bright caught his eye, a floating lantern gliding through the downpour. "Where is it going?" he wondered aloud, his curiosity piqued. As if hearing his thoughts, the lantern bobbed and danced, beckoning him to follow. Without a second thought, Jamie slipped on his raincoat and ventured outside. The lantern floated just out of reach, leading him down the garden path. "Where are you taking me?" Jamie called out, laughter bubbling in his throat. The lantern flickered in response, casting a warm glow through the rain-soaked night. It guided him to a small clearing in the woods where a group of spirits gathered, each holding a lantern of their own. They twirled and danced, their laughter mingling with the sound of the rain. "Welcome, traveler," a spirit with flowing hair said, her lantern glowing brighter. "Tonight we celebrate the rain and the stories it brings." Jamie couldn't help but smile. "What stories?" "Oh, so many," another spirit chimed in. "There's the tale of the rain that turned a grumpy old man into a singing frog. And the legend of the lost sock who found its way to the land of forgotten things," a third spirit added, giggling. As the night unfolded, Jamie listened to their enchanting stories, each one more whimsical than the last. The rain became a soothing backdrop to their laughter, washing away the mundane and filling the air with magic. When the lanterns finally dimmed, Jamie realized it was time to return. "Thank you for the wonderful tales. I'll never look at the rain the same way again." The spirits waved goodbye, their laughter lingering in the air. As he walked back home, Jamie knew that even on the rainiest nights, there were always adventures waiting just beyond the door. On a drizzly night, Zoe peeked out the window, watching the raindrops race each other down the glass. "What a boring night," she sighed, wishing for an adventure. Just then, she spotted something sparkling in the yard, a bright, star-patterned umbrella lying abandoned in the grass. Intrigued, she grabbed her raincoat and hurried outside to investigate. As she opened the umbrella, a cascade of shimmering stars erupted into the air, swirling around her. "Hello, Zoe," a cheerful voice chirped from the handle. "I'm Stella, your adventure guide." "An adventure guide in an umbrella?" she asked, grinning. "Absolutely. With me, every raindrop is a doorway to a new world. Are you ready to explore?" Stella replied, twinkling with excitement. Zoe nodded enthusiastically, and as she held the umbrella above her head, she felt a gentle pull. With a soft whoosh, they were transported to a magnificent land where it was always raining stars. The sky sparkled with colors she had never seen, and the ground shimmered like 1,000 tiny diamonds. "Welcome to Starfall," Stella announced. "Here, every puddle reflects the wishes of those who dream beneath the rain." Zoe jumped into a puddle, and suddenly she found herself floating in a dreamscape filled with fantastical creatures. She soared alongside a flock of starry owls, danced with twinkling fairies, and listened to the wishes of children echoing in the raindrops. Every splash of water revealed a new adventure, and Zoe's laughter rang out in the magical air. "This is incredible!" she exclaimed, her heart soaring with joy. As the night wore on, Zoe felt a gentle tug on the umbrella handle. "It's time to return home," Stella said softly. With a swirl of stars, they landed back in Zoe's yard, the umbrella glowing faintly in her hands. "Thank you for the adventure, Stella. I'll never look at rain the same way again. Remember, whenever it rains, open me up, and you'll always find a new adventure waiting," Stella winked. With a smile, Zoe went inside, knowing that the next rainy night would bring even more magic, her heart full of wonder and dreams. On a stormy night, while raindrops danced against the window pane, Emma stumbled upon an old, dusty teapot in the attic. Its surface was covered in intricate designs, but it seemed oddly familiar. "Where did you come from?" she mused, brushing away the dust. As she turned the teapot over in her hands, it began to glow softly. "Ah, I see you found me," a cheerful voice erupted from the spout. Emma jumped back in surprise. "What? You can talk? Indeed. I'm Tilly, the enchanted teapot. I hold the power of stories and wishes. Would you like to have a tea party?" it asked, bubbling with excitement. "Of course," Emma replied, her curiosity piqued. With a quick flick of her wrist, Tilly poured a steaming cup of tea, the aroma filling the room with a delightful fragrance. "Now close your eyes and make a wish," Tilly instructed. Emma took a deep breath and closed her eyes. "I wish for an adventure." As she opened her eyes, the attic transformed into a lush, vibrant garden, the sound of rain now replaced with cheerful birdsong. "Welcome to Wish Garden," Tilly chimed. "Here your wishes can come true." Emma looked around in awe as flowers glowed in every color imaginable, and butterflies flitted through the air. "This is incredible!" she exclaimed. "Let's explore!" Tilly said, floating beside her. They wandered through the garden, discovering magical creatures and hidden wonders. They met a wise old tortoise who shared tales of the stars, and danced with a family of giggling rabbits who played in the rain. With each sip of tea Tilly poured, Emma found herself in a new adventure, experiencing joy and laughter with every wish she made. Eventually, the garden began to fade as the rain outside picked up again. "It's time to return. But remember, my dear," Tilly said gently, "the magic is always within you. Just believe." With a swirl of warmth, Emma found herself back in the attic, the teapot still glowing softly in her hands. "Thank you, Tilly. I'll always treasure our adventures," she said, knowing she could revisit the magic anytime she wanted. As she settled into bed, the rain continued to fall outside, but now it felt like a melody of possibilities. Emma smiled, dreaming of the countless adventures still waiting for her to discover. On a rainy night, as the world outside was painted in shades of gray, Alex sat by the fireplace, flipping through an old family photo album. The gentle sound of raindrops hitting the roof made him feel nostalgic and warm. Suddenly, a soft glow caught his attention from the corner of the room. He turned to see a small, ornate lantern flickering on the shelf, its light dancing invitingly.
Curious, Alex picked it up, brushing away the dust that had gathered over the years. As he held the lantern, a soothing voice filled the room.
"Greetings, Alex. I am Leora, the Lantern of Lost Dreams. I carry the hopes and wishes of those who once dared to dream but have forgotten."
"What do you mean?" Alex asked, intrigued.
"Every flicker of my light represents a dream waiting to be rekindled. Would you like to hear one?" Leora offered, the lantern glowing brighter.
"Absolutely," Alex replied, feeling a spark of excitement.
Leora gently swayed and the warm light enveloped Alex, transporting him into a world filled with vibrant colors and whimsical shapes. He found himself in a fantastical landscape where creatures danced among the clouds and laughter filled the air.
This is the dreamland, Leora explained. It's where forgotten dreams go to rest, waiting for someone to remember them.
As they explored, Alex encountered a timid little cloud named Nimbus, who longed to become a thunderstorm but was too afraid of the loud noises.
I wish I could be bold like the others, Nimbus sighed, drifting listlessly. Why not try? Alex encouraged gently. What's holding you back?
With Leora's encouragement, Nimbus took a deep breath and began to swirl and twirl, slowly building up courage. The winds began to pick up and the sound of thunder echoed in the distance.
See, you can do it, Alex cheered.
With one final push, Nimbus transformed into a magnificent thunderstorm, sending shimmering raindrops and bright flashes of lightning across the sky. The other clouds cheered, and Nimbus beamed with pride, finally embracing its true self. As the scene began to fade, Alex felt a warmth in his heart.
Thank you, Leora. That was beautiful, he exclaimed.
Remember, Alex, every dream has its own path. Just believe in yourself and you can achieve anything, Leora replied, her light shimmering with warmth.
When Alex returned to his cozy living room, he felt inspired. The rain continued to fall, but now it sounded like a symphony of possibilities. He placed Leora back on the shelf, knowing that he could always revisit Dreamland and the dreams waiting to be awakened. With a smile on his face, Alex settled into his chair, ready to let his own dreams take flight, embracing the magic of every rainy night. On a rainy evening, as drops pattered playfully on the window, young Penny stared out with a sigh.
If only I had something exciting to do, she mused.
Just then, her bright yellow umbrella, forgotten in the corner, began to wiggle.
Excuse me, it chirped in a cheerful tone. I'm not just any umbrella, I'm Brawly, the dancing umbrella.
Penny's eyes widened in surprise. You can talk?
Of course, and I can dance too. Would you like to join me? Brawly asked, twirling with glee.
Can I really dance in the rain? Penny asked, excitement bubbling within her.
Absolutely, just open me up and hold tight, Brawly encouraged.
With a flutter of her heart, Penny opened the umbrella, and suddenly they were whisked away to a world where raindrops turned into sparkling fairy lights. Each droplet that landed on the ground erupted into a colorful flower, creating a breathtaking garden of vibrant hues. As Penny and Brawly danced through the air, they spun and twirled, their laughter ringing out like music.
Look, it's a rain ballet, Brawly declared as they floated through a field of dancing raindrops.
The raindrops swirled around them, creating a magical performance that left Penny in awe.
This is incredible! She shouted, her heart racing with joy.
Brawly led her in a series of spins and leaps, gliding over puddles that shimmered with the colors of the rainbow. With each joyful step, Penny felt lighter, as if the worries of the world had washed away. As the rain began to lighten, Brawly floated gently back to her yard where they landed softly on the grass.
Thank you for the dance, Penny. Remember, every rainy day is an opportunity for magic, Brawly said with a wink.
With a heart full of joy and a head full of dreams, Penny promised to dance in the rain whenever she could, knowing that adventure awaited her at every drop. On a stormy night, as the rain drummed against the roof, little Oliver peered out the window, hoping for a sprinkle of magic. Just then, he heard a soft tapping at his bedroom door.
Oliver, Oliver, a voice called, sweet and melodic.
He opened the door to find a tiny fairy with shimmering wings, her dress made of moonlight.
I'm Luna, and I've come for a moonlight tea party. Are you ready?
Wow, a tea party? He exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. But it's raining.
Precisely. The rain is our friend. It makes the moonshine brighter. Luna giggled, fluttering her wings.
With a wave of her wand, she conjured a beautiful table adorned with delicate teacups and saucers, each sparkling with starlight. The raindrops outside transformed into a soft melody, setting the perfect atmosphere.
Welcome to the moonlight tea party, Luna announced, pouring a steaming cup of starry chamomile tea. Care for a slice of rainbow cake?
As they sipped tea and nibbled on the delicious treats, the raindrops began to glow brighter, illuminating the room with a soft, enchanting light.
What's the best part of a rainy night? Luna asked, her eyes twinkling.
The magic, Oliver replied, grinning.
And dreams. When the rain sings, it tells stories of wishes waiting to come true, Luna said, her voice filled with warmth.
Suddenly, a gentle breeze swept through the room, and Oliver noticed tiny sparkles swirling around them.
What's happening? He gasped.
Those are dreams being carried on the wind. Let's make a wish together, Luna suggested, holding her cup high.
With a heart full of hope, Oliver closed his eyes and made a wish. As he opened them, he saw the sparkling dreams floating around them, each one filled with possibilities. As the rain continued to fall, Luna whispered,
Remember, Oliver, whenever it rains, just look for the moonlight and you'll find the magic.
When the party came to an end, Luna sprinkled a bit of stardust over Oliver.
You'll always have the magic with you, especially on rainy nights, she promised.
With a heart brimming with joy and wonder, Oliver waved goodbye to Luna, knowing that every raindrop carried a tale of dreams waiting to unfold. On a rainy evening, Sophie was rummaging through her grandmother's attic when she stumbled upon a bright red raincoat hanging in the corner. It looked ancient, with intricate patterns stitched into the fabric. What a peculiar coat, she murmured, brushing off the dust. As she touched it, the coat shimmered and seemed to come to life. Hello, Sophie, it chimed in a sing-song voice. I'm Raina, the enchanted raincoat, Sophie gasped. You can talk, of course, and I can take you on marvelous adventures, especially in the rain, Raina exclaimed, her buttons gleaming like little gems. Really? How does that work? Sophie asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Just put me on, and let's embrace the rain, Raina replied excitedly. With a flutter of anticipation, Sophie slipped into the raincoat. Instantly, she felt a rush of warmth envelop her, and the world around her transformed. She stood in a magical forest where raindrops sparkled like diamonds, and the trees whispered secrets. Where are we? Sophie asked, marveling at the sights. We're in the land of drizzles. Every raindrop here holds a story waiting to be told, Raina said, twirling around her. As they walked through the enchanted forest, they met a troop of whimsical creatures, raindrop fairies flitting about, making flower petals dance in the breeze, and a wise old turtle who shared riddles that made Sophie giggle. What's the best way to catch a raindrop? The turtle asked, winking. I don't know, Sophie replied, laughing. Just hold out your hand and let it fall. The turtle chuckled and they all laughed together. The forest glimmered with life and Sophie felt as if she were part of a wonderful dream. Raina led her to a sparkling pond where the water sang soft lullabies. Let's make a wish, Raina suggested. With her heart full of joy, Sophie closed her eyes and wished for friendship and laughter to fill her days. As she opened her eyes, the pond shimmered and colorful bubbles floated up, each one containing a tiny, joyous memory waiting to be made. As the evening sky began to dim, Raina said, It's time to head back, but remember, Sophie, whenever it rains, wear me, and we'll have more adventures together. Sophie nodded, her heart brimming with excitement. When they returned to her grandmother's attic, she gave Raina a grateful hug. Thank you for the adventure. Every rainy day can be a new journey. Just keep your heart open, Raina replied, sparkling softly. Snuggled in her bed, Sophie looked out at the rain, knowing that she would never see a rainy day the same way again. On a particularly stormy night, the wind howled like a playful puppy, and the rain drummed against the roof of Max's house. As he gazed out the window, he noticed his weather vane spinning wildly atop the roof, as if it had a mind of its own. Curiosity piqued, Max decided to investigate. He climbed to the attic and pushed open a tiny window. Hey, weather vane, what are you up to? He called out. The weather vane stopped spinning and spoke in a cheerful tone. Why, hello, young lad. I'm Wally the weather vane, and tonight is the perfect night for an adventure. An adventure? In the rain? Max asked, intrigued. Of course. The rain brings magic. Just climb onto my arrow and we'll soar through the storm, Wally replied, twinkling with excitement. Max hesitated for a moment, but the thrill of adventure was too strong. He climbed onto Wally, and with a whoosh, they lifted into the air, swirling above the clouds. Hold on tight, let's chase the storm. Wally laughed, spinning gracefully through the rain. Below, the town sparkled like a diamond-studded blanket, illuminated by the street lights. As they flew through the dark clouds, Wally shared tales of weather and whimsy. Did you know the raindrops have their own dance? Wally said, twirling in delight. Max peered down and saw the raindrops pirouetting as they fell, creating a mesmerizing spectacle. It's beautiful, he exclaimed. They glided above mountains that glimmered with the reflection of lightning, visiting the lands of Whirlwind Willie and Stormy Sally, who threw a party for all the raindrops. Everyone danced and laughed under the flickering stars. Here, every raindrop carries a wish, Wally explained. You can make a wish by catching one. As the rain fell, Max reached out, cupping his hands to catch a drop. I wish for more adventures like this, he shouted over the thunder. The raindrops sparkled and shot up into the sky, twinkling like a star. Wishes are powerful, Max. Keep dreaming, Wally cheered as they spun back toward home. As they descended, the storm began to clear, and a rainbow emerged in the distance. When they landed, Max jumped off, his heart filled with joy and wonder. "Thank you, Wally. That was amazing," he exclaimed. "Anytime you feel adventurous, just look to the skies. I'll be here, ready to take you on another journey," Wally replied with a wink. Max snuggled into bed, watching the last raindrops fall, dreaming of all the adventures yet to come. On a rainy evening, Clara curled up on her favorite chair, listening to the rhythmic patter of raindrops against her window. Each drop seemed to play a tune, and she closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her. Suddenly, a tiny raindrop appeared, sparkling in the moonlight. "Hello, Clara, I'm Drippy, the leader of the Raindrop Orchestra," it announced, bouncing with excitement. "The Raindrop Orchestra? What's that?" Clara asked, intrigued. "We create music from the rain. Would you like to join us?" Drippy invited, twinkling playfully. Clara nodded eagerly. "Yes, please." With a flick of Drippy's tiny form, Clara found herself transported to a magical concert in a shimmering forest where every raindrop played an instrument. Some raindrops tapped rhythmically on leaves, while others strummed on dewdrops like tiny harps. "Welcome to our symphony," Drippy exclaimed, floating around Clara. "We perform every rainy night to celebrate the magic of water." Clara watched in awe as the raindrops danced and played. Each drop contributed a unique sound. Some tapped, others jingled, and a few even sang sweet melodies. "This is incredible," Clara laughed, swaying to the rhythm. Drippy led her through the orchestra, introducing her to the Raindrop Rascals, a group of particularly playful droplets who loved to create mischief while they played. "Join us in the grand finale," they chimed, twirling around Clara. With Drippy at the helm, Clara raised her hands and the orchestra began to crescendo. The sound of the rain, the laughter of the droplets, and the gentle rustle of leaves combined into a harmonious masterpiece that filled the air with joy. As they played, the rain outside began to shine, creating a beautiful display of colors. The music of the raindrops echoed through the forest, weaving tales of adventure, dreams, and the beauty of nature. After the final note, the forest erupted in cheers, and Clara beamed with happiness. "That was the best concert ever," she exclaimed. Drippy floated closer, shimmering with delight. "Thank you for joining us. Remember, whenever it rains, close your eyes and listen. The music will always be there waiting for you." With a wave, Clara returned to her cozy chair, a heart full of melody and magic. As she drifted off to sleep, the sound of the raindrops became a lullaby, and she dreamed of all the beautiful music yet to be made. Fluttering like wings. Pile of old umbrellas in the corner of the room. They selected a large, plain umbrella and set to work. With Arya's guidance, Ellie painted bright flowers, twinkling stars, and whimsical creatures on the canvas. As they worked, the rain outside picked up, creating a soothing rhythm. "Now for the magic," Arya declared, waving her tiny wand over the finished umbrella. The colors shimmered, and a warm glow enveloped it. "Wow, it's beautiful," Ellie gasped as the designs began to dance and shift, blooming like flowers in the rain. imagination can create wonders. With that, they returned to Ellie's room, the umbrella glowing softly in her hands. "Thank you, Arya. This was incredible," Ellie exclaimed. "Anytime you want to create magic, just open your heart to the rain," Arya replied before fluttering back out the window. As Ellie looked out at the rain, she felt a spark of creativity igniting within her. The world was full of possibilities, waiting for her to paint her dreams into reality. On a stormy night, when the thunder rolled like a drum, Mia peered out her window, watching the raindrops race each other down the glass. She sighed, wishing for something exciting to happen. Suddenly, she spotted a colorful shape darting through the rain. Curious, she opened her window and gasped. In the dance! With Zephyr by her side, Mia twirled and swayed, joining the raindrops in their playful revelry. She laughed as they danced until the sky glowed with the colors of dawn. As the sun peeked through the clouds, the raindrops began to dim, their laughter fading into the morning light. "It's time for you to return, but remember, every rainy day can be a celebration if you just embrace it," Zephyr said, hugging Mia tightly. With a wave, they soared back to her room, where the rain had lightened to a gentle drizzle. Mia looked at her mask and smiled, knowing she would carry the magic of the masquerade with her. As she snuggled into bed, she felt a warmth in her heart, excited for the next rainy adventure that awaited her. On a rainy evening, Clara curled up on her favorite chair, listening to the rhythmic patter of raindrops against her window. Each drop seemed to play a tune, and she closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her. Suddenly, a tiny raindrop appeared, sparkling in the moonlight. "Hello, Clara. I'm Drippy, the leader of the Raindrop Orchestra," it announced, bouncing with excitement. "The Raindrop Orchestra? What's that?" Clara asked, intrigued. "We create music from the rain. Would you like to join us?" Drippy invited, twinkling playfully. Clara nodded eagerly. "Yes, please." With a flick of Drippy's tiny form, Clara found herself transported to a magical concert in a shimmering forest where every raindrop played an instrument. Some raindrops tapped rhythmically on leaves, while others strummed on dewdrops like tiny harps. "Welcome to our symphony," Drippy exclaimed, floating around Clara. "We perform every rainy night to celebrate the magic of water." Clara watched in awe as the raindrops danced and played. Each drop contributed a unique sound. Some tapped, others jingled, and a few even sang sweet melodies. "This is incredible," Clara laughed, swaying to the rhythm. Drippy led her through the orchestra, introducing her to the Raindrop Rascals, a group of particularly playful droplets who loved to create mischief while they played. "Join us in the grand finale," they chimed, twirling around Clara. With Drippy at the helm, Clara raised her hands and the orchestra began to crescendo. The sound of the rain, the laughter of the droplets, and the gentle rustle of leaves combined into a harmonious masterpiece that filled the air with joy. As they played, the rain outside began to shine, creating a beautiful display of colors. The music of the raindrops echoed through the forest, weaving tales of adventure, dreams, and the beauty of nature. After the final note, the forest erupted in cheers and Clara beamed with happiness. "That was the best concert ever," she exclaimed. Drippy floated closer, shimmering with delight. "Thank you for joining us. Remember, whenever it rains, close your eyes and listen. The music will always be there, waiting for you." With a wave, Clara returned to her cozy chair, a heart full of melody and magic. As she drifted off to sleep, the sound of the raindrops became a lullaby, and she dreamed of all the beautiful music yet to be made. Rainy day dancer, it loves the rain, she giggled, watching it spin around. Finally, Theo revealed his mask. Finally, Theo opened his umbrella of wonder. The little glowing creatures inside lit up the yard, casting soft colors. Awaited them next. Calling to her. Absolutely. Ripley zipped inside, and with a flick of its tiny wand, they were transported to a magical world where raindrops floated like balloons. Each droplet shimmered with colors, each one containing a unique story. "Let's begin," Ripley said, diving toward a large droplet that sparkled like a star. This one tells the tale of a lonely tree that wished for friends. It cried every time it rained, but the drops brought new seeds that grew into a forest. Lily wrote down the story, feeling the magic of the rain. They continued through the floating raindrops, discovering stories of a mischievous squirrel who stole umbrellas, a cloud that painted the sunset, and a raindrop that traveled the world, spreading joy wherever it fell. With each story they collected, the sky grew brighter, and laughter echoed through the air. Lily felt as if she were in the middle of a grand tale herself. After hours of adventure, Ripley finally said, "We've collected so many stories. Now, let's return home and share them with the world." With a wave of Ripley's wand, they found themselves back in Lily's cozy room, the sound of rain still gently pattering outside. "Thank you for your help, Lily. Here's a little gift," Ripley said, handing her a tiny crystal droplet. "Whenever you hold this, you'll remember the stories of the rain." Lily smiled, her heart filled with joy. "I can't wait to share these stories." As Ripley floated to the window, it turned and said, "Remember, every rainy day is a new adventure waiting to be told. Just listen to the drops." With that, Ripley vanished into the night, leaving Lily with her crystal droplet and a heart full of tales. As she settled back into her chair, the rain continued to dance against the window, and Lily smiled, knowing that each droplet held a story waiting to be discovered. On a chilly, rainy night, when the wind howled softly like a lullaby, Oliver found himself unable to sleep. He gazed out his bedroom window at the raindrops racing down the glass, each one shimmering in the dim light. Just then, he heard a soft, rhythmic tapping on his window. Curious, he opened it slightly, and a small, twinkling figure floated inside. Drops come to share their stories. "Would you like to visit?" Pippin asked, sparkling with excitement. Oliver's heart raced with anticipation. "Yes, I would love to." With a wave of Pippin's tiny hand, the room filled with shimmering light, and in an instant, Oliver found himself standing in a fantastical library. Books floated around like clouds, and each one glowed with a different color. Raindrops danced in mid-air, forming little shapes and figures. "Welcome to the library. Each book holds the story of a raindrop's journey," Pippin explained, fluttering around. "Let's choose a book." They drifted through the aisles, and Oliver's eyes fell upon a bright blue book. "What about this one?" he asked. "Ah, that's the story of a raindrop named Dewey," Pippin replied, pulling the book from the air. As they opened it, the pages flipped themselves, and Dewey's story unfolded. Dewey was the smallest raindrop in his cloud, but he dreamed of making a big splash, Pippin narrated. The pages shimmered with illustrations of Dewey gliding through the sky, meeting other raindrops and braving storms. But when it was his turn to fall, Dewey hesitated, fearing he wouldn't be big enough to make an impact, Pippin continued. Yet when he finally let go, he discovered he could create beautiful ripples in a pond, bringing smiles to children playing below. Oliver smiled, feeling inspired by Dewey's courage. They flipped through more books, each one revealing tales of bravery, friendship, and the beauty of nature through the eyes of raindrops. One story told of a raindrop named Lila, who helped a parched flower bloom after a long drought, while another featured a group of raindrops that teamed up to create a spectacular rainbow after a storm. As they read, the library echoed with laughter and warmth. Oliver felt as if he were part of each story, experiencing the joys and challenges of the raindrops. After hours of exploring, Pippin said, "It's almost dawn. You'll have to return home soon, but you can take a little magic with you." With that, Pippin handed Oliver a tiny, glowing raindrop encased in a crystal orb. "This will remind you of the stories and adventures we shared. Whenever you hold it, you'll feel the magic of the raindrops, Pippin explained. Thank you. I'll treasure it forever, Oliver exclaimed, his heart brimming with gratitude. With another wave of Pippin's hand, the library began to fade, and Oliver found himself back in his room, the rain still softly tapping against the window. As he clutched the glowing raindrop, Oliver smiled, knowing that the stories of the Midnight Library would stay with him forever, ready to inspire him whenever he looked out at the rain. Sound of flapping wings. Curious, he rushed to the window and opened it, only to see a peculiar figure soaring through the rain. It was a tiny, bespectacled creature holding an umbrella that looked far too large for it. Greetings, young scientist. I'm Professor Nimbus, the Cloud Curator, it announced, landing gracefully on the window ledge. Professor Nimbus? What's a Cloud Curator? Benny asked, his eyes wide with wonder. I collect stories and secrets from clouds and raindrops, and tonight I need your help, the professor replied, adjusting its tiny spectacles. Help? How can I help? Benny inquired, feeling a surge of excitement. Every raindrop carries a secret from its journey, and I need an eager mind to gather these tales, Professor Nimbus exclaimed, fluttering its wings eagerly. Will you join me? Without hesitation, Benny nodded. Absolutely. Drops and their secrets. They watched as the professor floated over to a group of raindrops hanging in the air. Listen closely. Each drop has a tale to tell, it instructed. The first raindrop shimmered brightly. I'm Ray, and I traveled from a mountain stream. I saw children laughing and playing, and I wished to bring joy to the world below, it said. Benny felt a warm glow in his heart. That's beautiful, he exclaimed. The next raindrop twirled with excitement. I'm Pearl. I fell from a cloud during a sunset, and I painted the sky with colors that danced like flames. It chimed, sparkling in the light. Benny laughed, his imagination ignited by the stories. What about you? He asked the last raindrop, which seemed a bit shy. I'm Cloudy, it whispered. I was born in a thunderstorm and learned to embrace my strength, even when the skies grow dark. Professor Nimbus nodded, pride evident in its tiny eyes. Every raindrop has a unique journey and lesson, and together, they create the beauty of life. As the last story was shared, the jar began to fill with the glowing essence of the raindrops. Curious, Clara leaned closer to the window, and to her surprise, a tiny, shimmering figure hovered outside. Hello, I'm Flora, the keeper of the enchanted raindrop garden, it announced with a flourish, its wings sparkling in the dim light. An enchanted garden? What's that? Clara asked, her curiosity piqued. It's a magical place where raindrops blossom into beautiful flowers. Would you like to see it? Flora invited, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Clara nodded eagerly. Yes, please. Magic. Now let's make our own raindrop flower, Flora suggested, plucking a droplet from the air. It glimmered like a star as she handed it to Clara. Imagine a story and plant this drop in the soil. Clara closed her eyes, picturing a tale of friendship and adventure. With a smile, she gently placed the droplet in the soil. To her amazement, a new flower began to bloom, swirling with colors that sparkled like diamonds. That's beautiful. What should we call it? Flora asked, her eyes twinkling with delight. Let's call it the friendship flower, Clara exclaimed, beaming with pride. As they admired the flower, the rain began to lighten, and the garden shimmered with a soft glow. To be discovered. On a rainy night, when the drops danced a gentle waltz against the window, Oliver found himself curled up in an old armchair at the local library, the only soul present. The scent of musty books and polished wood enveloped him, and he was content to lose himself in the pages of a forgotten novel. As the clock struck midnight, the lights flickered, and a soft rustle echoed through the aisles. Oliver glanced up, and there stood the ethereal figure of the librarian, her ghostly visage illuminated by a flickering overhead lamp. "Oh dear," she said with a sigh, "I really need to organize these books. They are far too jumbled for my taste." Oliver couldn't help but chuckle. "A ghost with a penchant for order? What do you do with all the overdue books?" She smiled, her translucent fingers gliding over the spines of the books. "I simply remind the borrowers that time is but a construct. They can return them whenever they like if they wish to avoid my rather persuasive library fines." The rain pattered gently against the window as Oliver and the librarian exchanged witty banter, sharing stories of misplaced tomes and forgotten tales. As dawn approached, the librarian gave him a small spectral nod, disappearing into the shadows, leaving Oliver with a sense of calm and a promise to return to his beloved library, if only to avoid those haunting finds. On a stormy evening, Eleanor sat by her window, a warm cup of chamomile cradled in her hands. The rain drummed a soothing rhythm on the glass, and outside, the world blurred into a watercolor of gray and blue. As the clock chimed 7, she heard a soft knock at her door. Curiosity piqued, Eleanor opened the door to find a group of elegantly dressed ghosts shimmering in the low light. "May we join you for tea?" asked a dapper specter with a bowler hat. "Why, of course," she replied, ushering them in. The spirits floated in, their laughter echoing through the room, and Eleanor quickly set out an assortment of teacups and pastries. As the rain fell steadily outside, they discussed their favorite blends. One ghost favored Earl Grey, while another insisted on the merits of mint. The atmosphere was light and jovial, the ghosts sharing tales of their favorite past lives, each story more amusing than the last. "I once attended a ball where I accidentally tripped a duke," one laughed. He declared it the highlight of his evening. With each sip of tea, the laughter and camaraderie grew, filling Eleanor's cozy living room with warmth and a sense of belonging. When the storm finally subsided and the first light of dawn peeked through the curtains, the ghosts raised their teacups in a toast. "To good company and a rainy night. May we meet again." Eleanor smiled, knowing that she would cherish this whimsical tea party long after the spirits had drifted away. On a rainy night, the sound of raindrops falling like whispers against the window lulled Martin into a comfortable stupor as he stared at the old family portrait hanging on the wall. It had been there for generations, depicting his ancestors in their elaborate, somber attire, eyes glimmering with secrets. As lightning illuminated the room for a brief moment, Martin noticed something peculiar. The eyes of his great-great-grandmother seemed to shift. "Is it just the storm?" he wondered, but the corners of her mouth twitched into what resembled a smirk. "Quite the weather we're having," she said suddenly, her voice soft yet clear. "It always brings out the best in memories." Martin chuckled, half convinced he was dreaming. "And what memories would those be?" "Ah, my dear boy," she replied with a wistful glance. "Rain has a way of washing away the mundane. It reminds us of the things we've tucked away, the tales we've forgotten." Intrigued, Martin leaned in closer. "What tales do you hold?" "Oh, many. Like the time your great-uncle tried to bake a cake during a storm. It ended up as a soggy mess. Or the night we all danced in the rain, much to the dismay of our neighbors." The rain continued to fall, creating a soothing melody. With each story, the portrait seemed to glow with life, filling Martin's heart with warmth and laughter. "Perhaps it's time to make new memories," he suggested, grinning. "Indeed," she replied, her smile radiant. "And perhaps one day you'll share them with someone who gazes upon your portrait." As Martin settled back into his chair, the rain a gentle lullaby, he felt a newfound connection to his family, a tapestry of laughter, mischief, and love woven through time, all thanks to a stormy night. Quite the sense of humor, even in the afterlife. As the rain continued to fall, Lucy and Thistle exchanged tales of pranks and mischief, their laughter mingling with the soothing sound of raindrops. The night felt alive, and she drifted off to sleep, dreaming of dancing with spirits among the trees. On a rainy night, when the world outside seemed to blend into a haze of gray, Mia nestled into her favorite chair, the wind howling like a lost soul. The rain pattered softly against the window, lulling her into a dreamy trance. Suddenly, she spotted a shadow moving across the street, illuminated by a flash of lightning. A figure stood beneath an old, gnarled tree, clutching a peculiar contraption. It looked like a mix between an umbrella and a musical instrument. Intrigued, she leaned closer to the window. "Come closer, little one," the figure beckoned, its voice melodic yet haunting. "I am the melancholy rainmaker." "What do you do?" Mia called, curiosity getting the better of her. "I collect the tears of the world and turn them into rain," the figure replied, its eyes shimmering with sadness. "Each drop carries the weight of forgotten dreams and lost hopes." Mia felt a shiver run down her spine. "Why do you do that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "To remind people of their feelings," the Rainmaker replied, raising the contraption high. With a flick of the wrist, he played a soft tune that resonated in the air, a melody filled with longing and sorrow. The rain intensified, pouring down as if in response to the music. "What happens to the tears?" Mia asked, captivated by the sound. "They become memories, released back into the world where they can touch hearts and inspire dreams once more," the Rainmaker explained, sadness etched on his face. "But many forget. They lock away their feelings and my work becomes more difficult." The rain fell heavier, drumming a rhythm on the roof, and Mia felt a connection to the melancholic figure. "What if I remember?" she offered, her voice filled with resolve. "What if I share the stories of those tears?" The Rainmaker paused, studying her intently. "You would do that? Help me carry their burden?" Mia nodded, her heart racing. "Yes, I want to help." With a solemn smile, the Rainmaker gestured for her to come closer. As she stepped outside, she felt the rain envelop her like a comforting embrace. "Close your eyes and listen," he instructed, his voice soft yet commanding. Mia closed her eyes, and the world around her faded. She heard whispers carried by the rain, the laughter of children, the sighs of lovers, the heart-wrenching sobs of loss. Each drop told a story, each note resonated with emotion. "I will remember them," Mia promised, her heart swelling with empathy. As she opened her eyes, the Rainmaker handed her a small vial filled with shimmering raindrops. "This contains the essence of their stories," he said. "Take it and let it guide you." With a gentle nod, she accepted the vial. The Rainmaker smiled, a glimmer of hope lighting his features. "Now go, share their tales, and breathe life back into forgotten dreams." As the storm began to subside, the Rainmaker faded into the mist, leaving Mia standing beneath the tree, the vial warm in her hands. She returned home, heart brimming with purpose, determined to honor the stories hidden within the raindrops. From that day forward, every time it rained, Mia would listen closely, collecting stories to share with the world, ensuring that no tear would ever be forgotten again. On a night when the rain fell relentlessly, weaving a curtain of gray across the world, Jonah sat by his window, mesmerized by the rhythmic sound. Each drop seemed to carry a whisper, a secret longing to be heard. As he gazed out, the storm revealed a figure moving through the shadows. A woman, cloaked in darkness, glided past the street lamp, her silhouette shimmering like water. Jonah's heart raced as he opened the window slightly. "Who are you?" he called, feeling an inexplicable pull toward her. "I am the Keeper of Echoes," she replied, her voice soft yet haunting, resonating through the night. "I gather the whispers of the rain." "What do you mean?" Jonah asked, his curiosity overcoming his caution. "The rain carries echoes of memories, feelings left unspoken," she explained, stepping closer. "I collect them to remind the world of what they have lost." "What happens if we forget?" Jonah inquired, sensing the weight of her words. "Then those memories fade away, like echoes swallowed by the night," the Keeper said, her eyes reflecting the storm's glow. "But you can help." "How?" he asked, intrigued. "Listen closely," she urged, gesturing toward the rain. "Each drop has a story to tell." Jonah leaned out, straining to hear. As he listened, he could hear faint echoes rising from the raindrops. Laughter, cries, whispers of longing, and sighs of regret. Each sound wrapped around him like a ghostly embrace. "Remember them," the Keeper urged, her voice almost a whisper now. "Share their tales. Breathe life into the forgotten." In that moment, Jonah felt a surge of understanding. "I will remember," he promised, feeling a connection to the rain, to the stories swirling within. The Keeper smiled, a glimmer of gratitude in her eyes. "Then my work is done. The echoes will find a way back." As the storm raged on, she began to dissolve into the mist, her form fading with each drop. "Listen for me in the rain, Jonah. I will always be there." With a final flash of lightning, she vanished, leaving Jonah alone with the patter of rain and the weight of his promise. He settled back into his chair, heart full of purpose, knowing that every storm brought with it echoes waiting to be heard and shared. From that night onward, he listened carefully to the rain, determined to remember and share the stories hidden within, ensuring that no echo would ever be lost to the darkness again. On a stormy night, with rain tapping against the window like restless fingers, Leo sat curled up in his blanket, gazing into the shadows of his dimly lit room. The flickering candlelight danced, casting eerie shapes across the walls. Just as he began to drift off, he heard a soft whisper, almost lost in the sound of the rain. "Leo! Leo!" Startled, he sat up and peered into the dark corners. "Who's there?" he called, his voice barely above a whisper. The air grew still, and for a moment, he thought it was his imagination. "Leo." The whisper came again, clearer this time, like a ghostly echo. It seemed to be coming from outside his window. Curiosity piqued, he approached and cautiously opened the window. To his astonishment, he saw a swirling mist that seemed to take shape, forming a figure with hollow eyes and an ethereal glow. "I am the shadow of raindrops," it intoned, its voice a chilling melody. "I gather the stories lost in the storm." "What stories?" Leo asked, feeling both frightened and intrigued. "Come closer," the shadow beckoned. "I can show you." Without thinking, Leo leaned out and the shadow reached for him, cold as the rain itself. As its fingers brushed against his hand, he felt a rush of memories, not his own, flood his mind. He saw glimpses of forgotten dreams, lost hopes, and rain-soaked secrets. Suddenly, images flashed before him, a child crying in the rain, a forgotten love letter swept away, a laugh silenced by the storm. Each raindrop that fell carried these stories, lost to the world. "These are the shadows of those who have come before," the figure whispered. "They linger in the rain, waiting for someone to remember." Leo's heart raced as he pulled his hand back, fear creeping in. "What do you want from me?" he stammered. "Only to remind you," the shadow replied, its voice hauntingly soft. "The rain is not merely water, it is a vessel of sorrow and beauty. Embrace it, and perhaps you can bring the stories back to life." Just then, a loud clap of thunder shook the room, and Leo stumbled back. When he looked again, the shadow had vanished, leaving behind only the sound of rain and a lingering chill. That night, Leo lay awake, listening to the rain, pondering the shadow's words. He realized that every storm held a mystery, a story waiting to be uncovered. And as he drifted into an uneasy sleep, he wondered what secrets tomorrow's rain might reveal. On a dreary evening, rain poured relentlessly against the window, creating a soothing yet eerie soundtrack. Ella sat in her favorite armchair, a thick book in her lap, but her mind wandered, drawn to the rhythmic drumming of the rain. Suddenly, a shadow flickered past the window, catching her attention. Leaning closer, she saw a figure standing outside, cloaked in dark fabric, holding a peculiar glass jar that shimmered ominously in the dim light. "Can I help you?" Ella called out, her voice hesitant. The figure turned slowly, revealing a pale face with wide, luminous eyes. "I am the raindrop collector," it said, its voice a mere whisper as if carried on the wind. "I collect the dreams trapped within raindrops." "Dreams?" Ella echoed, her heart racing with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Every drop holds a fragment of someone's wish or regret," the collector explained, raising the jar. Inside, she could see swirling shadows, each droplet pulsating with faint light. "Let me show you." Before Ella could respond, the collector extended a hand, and with a flick of its wrist, the jar opened. A swirl of rain cascaded into her living room, and as it fell, memories began to play out before her eyes. She saw a young girl wishing for a friend, a man recalling a lost love, and a boy dreaming of adventure. Each scene flickered like a film, fading just as quickly as it appeared. "Every storm brings their stories back," the collector said, watching her with an eerie calm. "But I can take them away, forever." Ella felt a shiver run down her spine. "Why would you do that?" "Because some dreams are too painful to hold on to," it replied, tilting its head, the shadows deepening around it. "And others can be reborn anew." As the rain continued to fall, she found herself torn between fear and empathy. "Can't you let them go?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The collector paused, a flicker of something almost human passing across its face. "It is not for me to decide." With a sudden movement, Ella stepped closer. "Then let me decide," she said, reaching out toward the swirling droplets. "Let their stories be free." In that moment, the collector hesitated, and the air crackled with tension. The swirling raindrops hesitated too, shimmering as if contemplating her words. Slowly, the collector closed the jar, its eyes locking onto Ella's. "You may have saved them for now," it whispered, the shadows flickering. "But remember, dreams and regrets are eternal companions." As the rain finally began to lighten, the figure stepped back into the night, leaving Ella alone with the echoes of the dreams they shared. She knew the rain would come again, bringing with it both shadows and stories, and she felt a newfound responsibility to listen. Each drop.